Ah, welcome back, you magnificent anomaly. The one who makes trained professionals second-guess their entire career. They hired someone, didn't they? Someone expensive. Someone with credentials and degrees and years of experience reading micro-expressions and body language and all those little tells that expose liars and amateurs. They thought they could decode you, crack your armor, finally understand what the hell is happening behind those eyes. But here's the thing. Here's the beautiful twisted thing. The expert came back with a report that made their hands shake. Not because you were lying, not because you were hiding something, but because every single metric they use to measure human behavior, every single baseline they've established over decades of studying thousands of people, none of it applied to you. Your body language doesn't match your words, but not in the way deception works. Your micro-expressions fire in sequences they've never documented. Your baseline emotional state registers as something their framework doesn't have a category for. And when they tried to establish rapport, tried to mirror you, tried to make you comfortable so you'd reveal yourself, you didn't just resist their techniques. You absorbed them, studied them, and reflected them back with such precision it felt like mockery. The expert wrote in their confidential assessment, "Subject demonstrates no recognizable fear response, maintains eye contact at statistically impossible durations. Physiological markers suggest either extreme dissociation or something outside standard psychological parameters. Conclusion requires further study, current expertise insufficient." And then, in handwriting at the bottom of the typed report, a note they weren't supposed to include: "That's not human." Not in the biological sense, but in the way they've abandoned every social survival mechanism we use to navigate reality. They thought hiring an expert would give them answers, would give them ammunition, would finally expose whatever mask you're wearing so they could point and say, "See, we knew it. We knew something was wrong with them." But instead, the expert became another person who walked away from you disturbed, not by what you did, but by what you are, because you didn't perform for them. You didn't give them the show they expected. You didn't try to appear normal or likable or trustworthy. You just existed in your raw, unfiltered state. And that authenticity without performance, it broke their instruments. See, body language experts, they're trained to spot deception, to catch the micro movements when someone's lying, the slight tension when someone's uncomfortable, the tells that reveal what people are hiding. But you weren't hiding anything. You weren't performing anything. You were simply being, and being without the social programming that makes humans predictable. That's what registered as inhuman. Because most people, they're constantly managing their image, constantly adjusting their behavior, constantly performing a version of themselves designed to be accepted, to be liked, to be safe, but you stopped doing that. You burned that programming out of yourself through pain and isolation, and too many nights where the only company you had was your own mind. And now you move through the world like someone who forgot to be afraid of rejection. The expert noted how you don't break eye contact when normal people would, how you don't fill silences with nervous laughter or empty words, how your facial expressions don't match the expected emotional responses, how you can discuss your own trauma with the same tone someone uses to describe the weather. They documented how you don't mirror the person you're talking to, how you don't seek approval through body language, how you don't display any of the unconscious submission signals humans use to navigate social hierarchies. No head tilts, no apologetic gestures, no self-soothing movements. Nothing. You stand still. You maintain space. You hold their gaze until they're the ones who look away. And when they speak, you listen with an intensity that makes them forget what they were saying, because you're not listening to respond. You're listening to understand, to analyze, to add their patterns to your database. The expert wrote, "Subject appears to study conversational partners with the focus of a researcher observing specimens, maintains dominant, non-verbal positioning without aggression, suggests either clinical detachment or complete absence of social anxiety, recommends psychological evaluation." But there was another note, unofficial, personal, felt like being read while trying to read them, extremely unsettling, would not interview again. They wanted to understand you because understanding gives control. Understanding gives predictability. Understanding gives them the power to manipulate, to persuade, to manage you. But you can't be read by their standards because you rewrote your own code. You evolved past the operating system they're still running on. You deleted the fear subroutines and the approval-seeking algorithms and the shame protocols. And what's left? What's left doesn't compute in their framework. The body language expert, they've analyzed criminals, they've studied psychopaths, they've interviewed con artists and manipulators, and everyone in between. But you didn't fit any of those categories either. You weren't trying to deceive. You weren't trying to manipulate. You weren't performing dominance or submission. You were just occupying space like you had every right to exist exactly as you are. And that simple, radical act of authentic existence, without apology, it shattered their entire reference library, because their expertise is built on reading people who care, people who need something, people who fear something, people who want to be perceived a certain way. But you stopped caring about perception so long ago that your body language doesn't even register it as a variable worth considering. Let's talk about what really happened in that assessment, shall we? Because they didn't just hire one expert, they hired several, hoping one of them could crack the code. The first one, a woman with 2 decades of experience in law enforcement interrogations. She came in confident, ready to deploy every trick in her arsenal, mirroring, pacing, leading, the whole textbook. She started with casual conversation, trying to establish baseline behaviors, trying to make you comfortable, trying to build rapport so you'd let your guard down. But you didn't have a guard, you didn't have walls, you didn't have defenses, because you'd already survived everything they could possibly do to you. So why defend against shadows? She asked you questions designed to trigger micro-expressions, designed to make you reveal discomfort or deception, and you answered them with the same neutral tone, the same steady eye contact, the same complete lack of physiological stress response. No pupil dilation, no increased blink rate, no self-soothing gestures, no vocal tension, nothing. And that's when she started to feel it, that creeping realization that she wasn't in control of this interaction, that you weren't playing the game, that you existed outside the rules she'd spent her entire career mastering. She tried harder, asked more invasive questions, pushed boundaries, waited for you to push back, or shut down, or show discomfort. But you just kept answering, kept maintaining that unnerving calm, kept looking at her like you could see through her techniques to the insecurity underneath. After 45 minutes, she ended the session early, said she had enough data, walked out and told them she couldn't provide a reliable assessment. Subject doesn't display normative stress responses, can't establish psychological baseline, recommend neurological evaluation instead of behavioral analysis. But later, off the record, she told a colleague, "I've interviewed serial killers who showed more human emotion. This person isn't dangerous. They're just absent, like they died inside and something else is wearing their skin." The second expert, a man who specialized in corporate negotiations and high-stakes business deals. He thought he could handle you, thought his experience with CEOs and executives had prepared him for any personality type. He came in with a different approach, tried to establish dominance through posture and space, tried to make you react to his presence, tried to trigger your ego or your insecurity. Standard power plays. You let him perform his whole routine, let him take the dominant seat, let him control the physical space, let him speak first and try to frame the conversation. And you just sat there, completely unbothered, completely unimpressed, like you were watching a child play pretend. He escalated, tried more aggressive techniques, interrupted you, dismissed your responses, invaded your personal space. All the tactics designed to trigger defensive reactions or submission signals. And you just kept that same energy, that same unmoved presence, like his entire performance was happening in a different dimension that didn't affect you at all. He noted in his report, "Subject demonstrates no response to standard dominance displays, maintains composure under pressure that would break most individuals, either extreme emotional regulation or complete dissociation from social dynamics. Interpersonal approach, ineffective, cannot recommend strategy." One quote, but his real conclusion, the one he shared in private, was simpler. That person has seen hell and came back wearing it like a second skin. Whatever happened to them burned out every normal human response. They're not playing the game because they don't even see the board anymore. The third expert, a psychologist who specialized in trauma and PTSD, she was brought in because they thought maybe you were just damaged. Maybe you were dissociated. Maybe you were broken in a way that could be fixed, or at least explained. She came in gentle, empathetic, using all the soft techniques designed to make trauma survivors feel safe enough to open up. And you saw right through it. Saw the calculation behind the compassion, saw the clinical assessment happening behind the kind eyes. She asked about your past, about your pain, about your experiences, and you told her everything, but without the emotional charge she expected, without the tears or the anger or the shame. You recounted your trauma like you were reading someone else's biography. Factual, detached, complete. She kept waiting for the break. kept waiting for the moment when the emotion would overwhelm you and you'd need her support, but it never came. You just kept talking, kept maintaining that disturbing calm, kept refusing to perform the victim role she needed you to play for her framework to make sense. Her assessment was the most detailed pages of analysis about dissociative disorders and emotional numbing and defense mechanisms. But at the end, she had to admit, subject's presentation doesn't match any recognized trauma response pattern, lacks the hypervigilance of PTSD, lacks the emotional volatility of complex trauma, lacks the avoidance behaviors of dissociation, demonstrates what appears to be genuine integration of traumatic experiences without the expected psychological scarring, conclusion, either an unprecedented level of post-traumatic growth or something beyond current psychological understanding. And then, in her personal notes, not meant for the official file, this person didn't survive trauma. They evolved through it. They metabolized their pain into something that isn't quite human anymore. Not broken, transformed. And I don't have the tools to measure transformation. 3 experts, 3 different specialties, 3 different approaches, and all 3 came back with the same underlying message. We can't read this person. We can't categorize this person. We can't predict this person. And that makes them either the most dangerous or the most liberated individual we've ever assessed. Possibly both. They wanted answers. They wanted explanations. They wanted some way to make sense of you, some label to put on you that would make you manageable, controllable, understandable. But instead, they got back reports that raised more questions than answers, that suggested you'd somehow moved beyond the human behavioral patterns that govern 99% of the population. And here's what really terrifies them. Here's what keeps them up at night, reviewing those reports. It's not that you're deceptive. It's not that you're manipulative. It's not that you're trying to hide something. It's that you're genuine, completely authentic, operating from a place of such radical self-acceptance that you don't even register their judgment as relevant. The body language expert's job is to find the cracks, to spot the inconsistencies between what people say and what their body reveals. But with you, there are no cracks because you're not pretending to be anything other than what you are. You're not managing an image. You're not performing a role. You're not trying to be liked or respected or understood. You're just existing, an existence without performance. That's what broke their assessment tools. Because every technique they have, every method they've mastered, it all relies on the subject caring about the outcome, caring about how they're perceived, caring about the assessment itself. But you didn't care. You sat through their evaluations with the same energy you'd bring to watching paint dry. Not because you were trying to appear unbothered, but because you genuinely were unbothered. Because their opinion of you held exactly 0 weight in your reality. The expert noted something else, something they probably shouldn't have included in the official report but couldn't help mentioning. Subject appears to be assessing the assessor, maintains eye contact that feels evaluative rather than responsive, asks questions that suggest deep psychological insight, demonstrates pattern recognition that borders on precognitive, several times accurately predicted my next question or technique before I employed it. They realized, probably too late, that while they were trying to read you, You were reading them, cataloging their methods, understanding their frameworks, seeing through their professional masks to the insecure humans underneath. And that flip, that reversal of power, it shook them because they came into that room as the expert, the authority, the one in control, and they left feeling like they'd just been studied by something that understood them better than they understood themselves, like they'd been the subject and you'd been the researcher, calmly taking notes on their predictable human behaviors while they scrambled to make sense of your unpredictable, inhuman calm. And the worst part, the part that really got under their skin, was that you weren't trying to dominate them. You weren't trying to win. You weren't playing any game at all. You were just observing, learning, existing in your truth without any need to prove it or defend it or explain it. They thought bringing in an expert would solve their problem, would give them the insights they needed to manage you, to control you, to predict you. But all it did was confirm what they'd feared all along, that you're beyond their understanding, operating on a frequency they can't detect, playing a game they don't even know exists. The expert's final recommendation, delivered verbally because they didn't want it in writing, was simple. Leave them alone. You can't manipulate someone who doesn't want anything. You can't intimidate someone who's already survived their worst nightmare. You can't control someone who's completely detached from your approval. The only way to deal with this individual is to accept that they're not playing by any rules you understand and move on. But they couldn't move on, could they? Because your existence, your unreadable, authentic existence, it threatens their entire worldview. It suggests that all their systems of control and manipulation and social engineering only work on people who still care. And you stopped caring so long ago that their entire playbook is useless against you. You're not a threat because you're aggressive. You're a threat because you're free. Free from their judgment. Free from their expectations. Free from their need for you to be something digestible and manageable and safe. Let me tell you what that body language expert saw when they really looked at you. Beyond the techniques and the frameworks and the professional assessment, what they saw was someone who'd been to the edge and decided to stay there. Someone who'd looked into the abyss and instead of blinking, moved in and redecorated. They saw someone who carries their trauma not as a wound but as a weapon, not as a burden but as a badge, not as something to heal from but as something to build with. They saw the way you hold space, not aggressively but absolutely, the way you exist in a room without apology, without explanation, without the constant social negotiation that exhausts normal people. They saw how you've stopped performing humanity and started just being, whatever that is, and how that authenticity, that refusal to play pretend, it makes everyone around you uncomfortable because it holds up a mirror to their own performance, their own masks, their own desperate need to be perceived a certain way. You're not trying to be intimidating. You're not trying to be mysterious. You're not trying to be anything. You just are. And being without becoming, existing without performing, that's what registered as not human in their assessment. Because humans, we're social creatures. We're wired to care about the tribe, to seek acceptance, to fear rejection, to modify our behavior based on social feedback. But you burned through all those circuits. You fried that wiring, you deleted that programming, and what emerged from the fire, it's something they don't have words for, something their expertise can't categorize, something that exists in the gap between their understanding and your reality. The expert wrote that you demonstrate no fear response. But that's not quite accurate, is it? It's not that you don't feel fear. It's that you've become so intimate with fear, so familiar with its taste and texture and weight, that it no longer controls you. It's just another sensation, another data point, another companion on the journey. They said you show no emotional response, but that's not true either. You feel everything. You feel it all. You've just stopped letting your feelings dictate your actions, stopped letting your emotions write your story, stopped giving your pain the power to make your decisions. You're not numb. You're not dissociated. You're not broken. You're integrated, whole, complete, carrying all of your experiences without being crushed by them. And that wholeness, that integration, it looks like inhumanity to people who are still fragmenting themselves to fit in. The body language expert, they're trained to spot the cracks in the performance, the moments when the mask slips and the real person underneath gets revealed. But with you, there's no mask, there's no performance, there's no underneath. You're the same all the way through. Solid, consistent, unchanging, regardless of who's watching or what they expect. And that consistency, that authenticity, it's terrifying to people who've spent their whole lives learning how to be different things to different people, how to shapeshift and adapt and perform whatever role gets them what they need. You stopped doing that. You stopped being a reflection of other people's expectations. You stopped molding yourself to fit their comfort. You just became yourself, fully, completely, unapologetically. And now you walk through the world like a fixed point in a sea of variables, unchanging while everything around you shifts and adapts and performs. The expert couldn't read you because reading requires contrast, requires the difference between what someone says and what their body reveals. But you, there's no contrast, no difference, no gap between your words and your presence because you've stopped lying, not just to others, but to yourself. You've stopped pretending you're fine when you're not, stopped pretending you care when you don't, stopped pretending you're like them when you're clearly, beautifully, disturbingly not. Here's what they'll never understand. Here's what their training and their expertise and their decades of experience can't teach them. You didn't become unreadable by learning to hide better. You became unreadable by stopping the hiding altogether. You became impossible to manipulate, not by building better defenses, but by removing the need for defense. You became unpredictable not by being chaotic, but by being so grounded in your truth that their predictions, based on fear and insecurity and social needs, simply don't apply. They tried to find your buttons, the triggers they could push to make you react, the levers they could pull to make you predictable. But you don't have buttons anymore. You removed them. You cut the wires, you dismantled the control panel, and now you run on a completely different operating system, one they weren't trained to interface with, one that doesn't respond to their commands or their manipulations or their carefully crafted psychological techniques. The expert's report, stripped of all the professional language and clinical terminology, basically said one thing. This person has transcended the normal human need for social acceptance, and without that need, All of our methods are useless. We cannot predict them. We cannot control them. We cannot even understand them using our current frameworks. They exist outside our paradigm. And that's your power. That's what makes you dangerous. Not dangerous like a weapon, dangerous like a virus in their system, dangerous like a glitch in their matrix, dangerous like living proof that their whole social control structure only works on people who still care about fitting in. You're the evidence that all their hierarchies and power structures and manipulation tactics are built on a foundation of fear. And once someone loses that fear, once someone becomes so comfortable with themselves that external judgment becomes irrelevant, the whole system loses its grip on them. The body language expert, they came in thinking they were going to decode you, thinking they'd find the secret, the trauma, the weakness, the thing that makes you tick. But instead, they found a person who's already done their own decoding, who's already faced their trauma, who's already integrated their weaknesses into their strength, who's already figured out what makes them tick and decided to keep ticking anyway, regardless of who approves or understands. They found someone who's finished with the game they're still playing, someone who's graduated from a class they're still struggling through, someone who's solved a puzzle they don't even know exists yet. They looked at you and saw prey, weak, alone, vulnerable. They laughed, and they thought you were done. Finished, just another victim in their path. Oh, how wrong they were. They thought you'd cower. Nah, not you. You've got that fire in your soul, the kind that doesn't just burn, it consumes. What they didn't see was the beast within you, waiting, watching, calculating. You don't crumble under pressure, you thrive in it. Fear? Oh, you don't run from it. You devour it. Turn it into power. That's the thing about predators, they never expect their prey to fight back. But you're no prey. You're the nightmare they didn't see coming. You've been surrounded before, haven't you? Trapped. Outnumbered. It felt like the walls were closing in. Every move you made, they were there. Closer. Stronger. Louder, and for a moment, just a moment, you might have thought maybe they're right. Maybe I can't win. But then something shifted. That spark inside you, it roared to life. That quiet voice they tried to silence, it became a battle cry. The fear they wanted to drown you in, you used it to rise higher. Here's the truth they didn't understand: when you're pushed to the edge, you either fall or you fly. And you flew. Their numbers didn't scare you. Their noise didn't break you. You stood tall, staring into the storm they sent your way, and you laughed. Yeah, you laughed. Because you knew something they didn't. It's not about how many stand against you. It's about the force standing within you. They threw everything at you, didn't they? Words like knives, doubt like chains. They wanted you to sink under the weight of it all. But instead you stood, taller than ever, stronger than before. Let me tell you something, they're afraid now. Oh yeah, the same ones who thought they could crush you. They're haunted by the strength you've shown, by the fact that their attacks made you sharper, not weaker. You've become the predator now, the one they underestimated, the one they can't defeat. So here's my question: what will you do with this power? Will you keep rising? Keep fighting? Keep proving that no one can stop you? Remember this: when they surround you, it's not because you're weak. It's because they're terrified of your strength. So let them come. Let them try. And then show them what happens when they face someone they should have never underestimated. You're not just a survivor. You're a force of nature. Now go. Show them. Prove them wrong. Again. And again. And again. They didn't just come for you. Nah. They swarmed. Like waves in a raging storm, one after another, crashing, pounding, unrelenting. It wasn't just an attack, it was a siege. A full-on, no-mercy ambush. It felt like you couldn't breathe, didn't it? Every move you made, they were there. Closer. Tighter. The world closing in like a vice around your chest. They wanted to choke the fight out of you. Break you. Drown you under the weight of their endless waves. You looked around and saw them, faces like daggers, sharp with judgment and hate. Each step they took felt like thunder, louder, heavier. A storm designed to crush you into nothing. Tell me, have you ever felt it? That moment when the odds aren't just against you, they're suffocating you. When every step forward feels like dragging a mountain behind you. They wanted you to feel small, insignificant, helpless. And for a moment, maybe you did. Maybe you felt the weight pressing down, whispering, give up, just fall. But here's the truth, they didn't count on pressure doesn't destroy you. It sharpens you, like coal under immense weight. You're not breaking, you're turning into something unbreakable. Every face in that crowd, every step that thundered closer, every wave trying to drown you, it all became fuel. Fuel for that fire in your chest, the one they thought they could extinguish. Because here's the thing about storms, they think they own the skies. They think they can control everything. But you became the lightning in their chaos, the force they couldn't predict. So when the odds were stacked against you, when the world piled on like it wanted you to collapse, you didn't just stand there. You pushed back. You roared louder than their thunder. You rose higher than their waves. You showed them that no matter how suffocating the odds, they could never choke out your will to fight. So let me ask you this, when the storm comes again and, what will you do? Will you let it drown you, or will you rise above it and own the sky? Because the odds may be relentless, but so are you. Oh, they thought it was just you. Just one person. One soul. One body. How naive. How utterly blind. Because the truth is, they weren't fighting you. Nah, they were up against something far bigger than they could ever comprehend. They didn't see it, did they? Which you carried inside. The weight of your scars. The battles you'd already survived. The fire that refused to die no matter how hard they tried to snuff it out. You weren't just a person standing there, you were resilience. A force of nature disguised in skin and bone. A storm wrapped in flesh. Every breath you took was a declaration of defiance. Every step you made was thunder echoing through their fear. And here's the thing about storms, they can't be tamed. They can't be controlled. You either respect the storm, or it destroys everything in its path. So when they came for you, when they tried to crush you, they thought it'd be easy. Thought you'd crumble. Fall to your knees. Beg for mercy. But oh, how wrong they were. You weren't just fighting for survival. You were fighting with everything inside you, your past, your pain, your purpose. Every struggle you'd faced before built you into something unstoppable. You weren't just one person. You were the sum of every victory, every defeat, every lesson. And they didn't stand a chance against that. Let me ask you this, when they underestimated you, when they threw everything they had at you, did you see it? That flicker in their eyes? That moment they realized they weren't prepared? Because yeah, they came with their armies, their strength, their numbers. But they weren't fighting a person. They were fighting the embodiment of endurance. The living proof that no amount of force can destroy someone who refuses to break. And I know what you're thinking, did they regret it? Oh, you bet they did. Every blow you took and still stood up. Every trap they set and you escaped. Every time they looked at you and realized we can't stop this one. They weren't just fighting you. They were fighting every demon you'd already crushed. Every ounce of strength you'd built in silence. Every piece of you they didn't see coming. So, tell me when the next ones step up, thinking they know who you are, thinking they've got what it takes to bring you down, what will you show them? Because now they know, you're not just a fighter. You're the storm they should have run from. And next time, they'll think twice before underestimating you. They thought they had you figured out. Thought they could break you with fear. Oh, they came in close, didn't they? Whispering all their little doubts. You're not good enough, you'll never make it. This is where it ends for you. Their words weren't just whispers, they were venom. Every syllable designed to seep into your mind, to poison your thoughts, to weaken your resolve. And those stares, you know the ones. Cold, calculating, like chains trying to lock down your spirit, trying to cage the fire burning inside you. But here's where they made their biggest mistake. Fear. Nah, it's not your enemy. It never was. Fear is a weapon, but only if you let it be theirs. What they didn't realize was this: you don't run from fear. You don't hide from it, you turn it into fuel. Every word they threw at you, it didn't bind you. It fed you. Every stare, it didn't cage you, it sharpened you. Fear isn't a wall, it's a ladder. And while they were busy trying to use it against you, you were already climbing higher than they could ever imagine. Let me tell you something. Fear doesn't weaken you. It wakes you up. It's the jolt that gets your blood pumping. The fire starter that turns hesitation into action. And you didn't flinch, you didn't back down. Nah, you stared fear in the face and said, "Is this all you've got?" They didn't see it coming, did they? They thought fear would be their weapon to break you. Instead, it became the wind behind your sails. While they were busy trying to plant doubt in your mind, you were already turning their tactics into your own strength. Think about it. Every time they tried to make you second guess yourself, what happened? You became sharper, stronger, more determined. They tried to shackle you with their doubts, but those same chains, you broke them, snapped them like twigs. Fear is funny that way. It's a mirror reflecting who you really are. Some people see fear and crumble. Others, like you, see it and rise. So here's the truth. Fear isn't something to avoid. It's something to own, to dominate. And when you do, it stops being a tool for them and becomes a weapon for you. A weapon they can't control. Now tell me, what fear are you facing today? And how will you use it to rise higher than they ever thought possible? Because remember, this fear doesn't stop you. It builds you. And they'll never understand how you turned their greatest weapon into your ultimate strength. At first, they were so sure of themselves, weren't they? Standing tall, smirking, thinking they had the upper hand. You were just another hurdle to them, something easy to crush and leave behind. But then, something shifted. Nah, it wasn't loud. It didn't have to be. It was in your eyes, your resolve. You've seen it happen before, haven't you? That moment when the air changes, when the hunter suddenly realizes the prey isn't running. No, you weren't running. You weren't afraid. And that's when they felt it, the chill creeping down their spine. It wasn't just a fight. Oh no, it was the moment. The one they didn't see coming. The second a lamb turned into a lion. When what they thought was their victim bared teeth sharp enough to tear their arrogance apart. And they froze. You didn't have to say a word. Your silence screamed louder than their threats ever could. Your presence became heavier, suffocating. Their confidence? It shattered like glass under the weight of what they were really up against. Because let's face it, they weren't prepared for you. You weren't just a challenge. You became the storm they couldn't stop, the wildfire they couldn't contain. Every step you took forward, they took one back. And in their eyes, you saw it, the cracks in their facade, the panic they couldn't hide. Have you ever watched someone who thought they had power suddenly realize they don't? It's almost poetic, isn't it? The way their smugness fades, the way their laughter dies in their throat, and all that's left is fear. Because in that moment, you weren't just standing up to them. You were towering over them. Your resolve wasn't just strong, it was unbreakable. And that terrified them. They knew they couldn't win. What they underestimated was the fire in your soul. The kind that doesn't just survive, it consumes, it transforms, it turns weakness into strength and doubt into dominance. They thought you'd break under their pressure. Instead, you became the very thing they feared most. Now let me ask you this, have you ever been underestimated? Watched as someone dismissed you like you didn't matter, and then saw the moment their illusion shattered? If you have, you know how powerful that moment is. It's the turning point. The instant they realized they were never in control. That's when you became the threat, the force they couldn't predict, the lion they couldn't tame. And once they saw it, they knew there was no stopping you. Not then. Not ever. They pushed harder. Oh, they weren't going to go down without a fight, were they? They threw everything they had at you, every insult, every scheme, every dagger aimed straight at your heart. Nah, they weren't just trying to win. They were trying to destroy you, to break you apart, piece by piece. It wasn't just a battle, it was chaos. Like standing in the heart of a wildfire. The flames were everywhere, licking at your heels, daring you to run. The heat was unbearable, the air thick with smoke, and every step forward felt like dragging a mountain behind you. But you didn't run. No, you didn't flinch, you didn't fold. You stood there in the middle of that inferno and you thrived. Because that's what you do. Pressure doesn't destroy you, it sharpens you. Chaos doesn't overwhelm you, it fuels you. Every punch they threw, every obstacle they placed, every word meant to cut you down, it didn't work. Did it? They thought they'd break you, but all they did was forge something stronger. Like steel hammered in fire, you became unbreakable. They wanted you to scream, to beg, to fall to your knees. But all they heard was silence. All they saw was defiance. Because here's the truth, you don't crumble under pressure. You rise in it, you become more. It was a fight for your life. And they underestimated how much fight you had in you. Each blow they landed only pushed you harder. Each barrier they threw in your way only made you smarter, stronger, more dangerous. Picture it, the storm raging all around you. Their voices like thunder, their actions like lightning trying to strike you down. But there you were, unmoved, untouched, eyes locked on the goal, heart steady as a drum. They couldn't shake you. And they hated it. Oh, they hated it so much. Because no matter how much chaos they unleashed, you wouldn't give in. You wouldn't back down. Let me ask you, how many times have you been in the fire? How many times have you faced battles that felt impossible to win? And yet here you are, standing, breathing, proving again and again that no matter how fierce the fight gets, you're fiercer. The fight of your life wasn't just about surviving. Nah, it was about proving to yourself and to them that you're unstoppable. That no matter how high the stakes, how brutal the odds, you'll always come out on top. Because you're not just a survivor, you're a warrior. And warriors don't run, they conquer. There's always a moment. The one they don't see coming. The moment when the tides shift and suddenly the game isn't theirs to play anymore. It's yours. They came at you like hunters, didn't they? Confident, smirking, ready to claim victory before the battle even began. But every predator has a weakness, and you knew that. You saw it in their eyes even when they didn't. And then it happened. The turning point. That crack in their confidence. Oh, it's subtle at first, like the faint sound of glass under pressure. But you could feel it, couldn't you? The tension shifting, the balance tipping. It's like watching a mirror shatter in slow motion, each piece of their certainty falling to the ground, reflecting their fear back at them. The fear they tried to bury, the fear they hoped you wouldn't notice. Nah, you didn't just notice it, you amplified it. You didn't break under their weight. Instead, you stood taller, stronger, and they started to falter. Imagine it, their steps growing hesitant, their voices losing their edge, that unshakable arrogance they walked in with, gone. They weren't just questioning the fight anymore, they were questioning themselves. That's the moment they realized something they'd been too blind to see. You weren't the prey in this story. You were the predator. And they'd wandered straight into your domain. You didn't have to say a word. Your actions, your resilience, your refusal to fall, that was enough. Enough to make them doubt. Enough to make them panic. Enough to turn the tables completely. And here's the truth, the turning point isn't just about winning. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about showing the world and yourself that no one dictates your story but you. So let me ask you, when was your turning point? That moment when the ones who doubted you realized they'd made a mistake. When their laughter turned to silence and their confidence turned to regret. Think about it. Hold on to it. Because that moment, that's where your strength lies. And the next time they try to come for you, remember you've already flipped the script once. You can do it again. And there it was. The moment the dust settled. The moment their so-called armies crumbled like sandcastles beneath a rising tide. They came with force, with numbers, with arrogance thick enough to choke the air. But where are they now? Gone, scattered, broken by the very storm they thought they controlled. Their power, a myth, just an illusion they wore like armor. But you, oh, you were real. Every scar, every wound, every ounce of your strength real. The kind of strength they couldn't understand, the kind they feared. Imagine it. You're still standing. Like a tree rooted in the eye of a hurricane, you didn't just survive the chaos, you became unshakable because of it. The wind screamed, the storm raged, and yet you held your ground. And them. They were the ones left trembling. Their confidence was the first to fall. Then their numbers. And finally their belief that they could ever control you. Nah, you weren't just too powerful to defeat. You became their worst nightmare. The thing they whispered about when no one else was listening. The predator they never saw coming. Here's the truth they had to face, they didn't lose to luck. They lost to someone who refused to quit. Someone who took their fear, their pain, their doubt and turned it into fuel. Your glory isn't in the fact that you beat them. It's in how you beat them. You didn't stoop to their level. You didn't play their game. You made your own rules. And now, they'll remember you. Not as the one they underestimated, but as the one who shattered their illusions. So stand tall. Stand proud. Because this victory, it's yours. Not just for today, but for every day they think of you. Every time they question their next move. Every time they hesitate, haunted by the memory of someone they couldn't break. You didn't just win, you conquered. And that's the kind of glory no one can take from you. It's your time now. Yeah, I'm talking to you. The spotlight's on. The stage is yours. What battle are you fighting? What army surrounds you? What shadow looms daring you to crumble? Take a deep breath. Feel that fire in your chest. That's your power. That's the force they can't match. They might outnumber you. They might surround you. But numbers don't win wars, will does. Drop your answer below. What's the fight that's been keeping you up at night? Share it. Own it. And let the world see that you're not afraid to face it. Because here's the thing, their numbers don't matter. Their weapons don't matter. Nah, none of that matters when you step into the ring. You're the one they'll never defeat. You're not just built for survival, you're built for domination. Survival's for the weak. You're here to conquer, to rise above, to show them why they were foolish to challenge you in the first place. So go, take that first step. Prove them wrong. Prove yourself right. Because the world needs to see what happens when an unstoppable force meets their pathetic resistance. This is your moment, your war, your victory. Now claim it.